Hola, everybody. Yeah, like Danny says, I'm Claudia Lovo. I come from Nicaragua, and thank you, first of all, for the invitation to be here. I'm very happy to talk on behalf of the producer. I am a farmer with a group of friends, and we bought a farm just 1 year ago, and also we opened our own dry mill. So we are learning a lot last year, but already have been in the coffee business for almost 10 years. So a little bit of everything in the origin. But first of all, I work with producers, and I'm going to talk about the reality now. Okay, but this is the dry mill, and I'm going to explain a little bit the big construction. There is a warehouse for to keep all the coffee that we send here, and the warehouse is surrounded by African beds, and we have some natural coffee are drying here. And in the middle, we have some honey coffees, and at the bottom, we have some fully washed coffee. So, from last year. So, a specialty coffee is a savor or a purple. So, we are start to talk about the bean. What's going to happen with coffee in the coming years? This is a question that an origin we do every year because we are in front of the disease. The change of weather is hitting us really hard every year. So let's see this short movie, please.
The world's coffee supply is under threat. Are you incapable of functioning without a morning cup of coffee? Then you need to listen to what I'm about to tell you because all is not well in the world of Java, and it's because of climate change. Half of the world's area that is suitable for growing coffee will be lost by 2050 if nothing is done about climate change, according to a new report from the Climate Institute of Australia. The key quote for you and me, as I see it, is consumers are likely to face supply shortages, impacts on flavour and aroma, and rising prices. And considering my local coffee shop is now charging $5 for a filter and this small bag of coffee beans costs $20, how much higher can prices go? It's not just hipster coffee joints jacking up the prices because they're cool enough to get away with it either. International coffee giants are freaking out about this too. Starbucks is apparently worried, and last year Lavazza's green coffee and corporate relations partner said, "We have a dark cloud over us," and it's dramatically serious. So what's all the fuss about? Well, the Climate Institute says that even a half a degree difference at the wrong time can hit coffee yield and quality. Now, because industries adapt to changes quickly, they're worried that over the next few decades we'll see production areas move up to the mountains, coming into conflict with other land uses and forests. The world drinks about 2.25 billion cups of coffee a day, and pretty much all of that comes from developing countries. It's hard work, and despite the huge output, the global industry is actually only worth around 19 billion American dollars a year. So yes, all this climate change stuff means that your morning coffee is under threat and could become crap and expensive over time. But stop thinking about yourself for 1 second, because countries like Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia, Ethiopia, Honduras, Uganda, they're all the world's biggest coffee producers, and they would be in big trouble if anything went wrong with that industry. The price of coffee as a traded commodity is up around 10% in the last 12 months, and Climate Institute says get ready to see tighter supply in the future.
So news. So we continue. As you can see, change weather is really bad. For us now, we're feeling. We saw the flowers coming earlier, coming late. And it's a really concern for us in the origin countries. So, and more news about that. So, we have our coffee land. And 2010, we can choose notice and, okay, we have just 6 years ago, the blue area is belong to Arabica. And the purple belong to Robusta. And we have a green area in the middle, and Africa too, that is Arabica and Robusta planted in the same region. Well, and more in 2050, we have the half of that. Well, you will see less in Nicaragua, and then you will see why. We have some Arabic there, the blue part, and we have still some Robusta, and we have a little bit of Robusta and Arabica in Central America and a little bit in Africa too. Well, Central America. Nicaragua is the triangle in the middle of the map. 2010. So we have a lot of Robusta. Nicaragua, Honduras is our neighbor on the north. And we have Guatemala too, the purple is Robusta. And we have Arabic, the blue one. And we have Arabic and Robusta in all that countries. But 2050, this is our reality. We are going to lose the half of the coffee region for that time. So it's just for us, we are really scared about it. So what does it look for demand of coffee? So already we have that for 2050, we're going to lose a half of the land for coffee. So, but we're going to have more demand for consumption countries. We take a look to another short video.
The world consumes about 600 billion cups of coffee every year. I think we're going to reach a crisis point. We're seeing a significant increase in the demand for coffee at the same time when climate change is making areas less suitable for coffee production. As Conservation International, what we're trying to do is work with the existing farmers and the existing farms to increase productivity, maintain the quality, and also put in place some safeguards for our forest conservation. There's an urgency in terms of addressing this crisis, and we have to figure out how we're going to produce the coffee that we need in order to keep the world caffeinated. We can get there, but it's just going to take more of a collective and concerted effort from across the sector. People need nature to thrive, but coffee also needs nature to thrive. We also know that people need coffee to thrive every day.
So, more news about the demand of coffee. So for 2050, we're going to have 150% more of consumption of coffee, consumption of coffee, I'm sorry. And we have the global coffee consumption here. So now we have the market that we already know, but we can add it to that in 2050, we're going to have new markets, like if you can saw in the bottom, so in East Asia, and the purple one, Sub-Saharan Africa. So, what does it mean for environment? Already saw that half of the coffee growing region could be gone by 2050. And we already saw too that we're going to have 150% of the demand of coffee for that time. So news about how climate change could we make coffee a major driver of tropical deforestation. 60% of the area suitable to growing coffee in 2060 is covered by forests, but no more in Nicaragua. We already lost this 50% of our forests. It doesn't mean, and I want to let everybody clear, it's only the reason is only coffee. Of course not, but coffee is one of that reason. So, what does it mean for the producer? Again, for 2050, we are already going to lose the half of the coffee land in the world. Demand is up by 150%, and 60% of the land available for coffee is covered by forest now. %80 of the world coffee is produced by small-scale farmers, with as many as 20 million coffee farmers depending on coffee for their livelihoods. And I'm not talking about the people working behind that producer. There is a lot of families too. So this is, I'm going to talk about this is specifically in Nicaragua. It's an average. So if the producer wants to have a coffee of 80 points, they need to spend $1.10 per pound. If they want to produce coffees of 85 up, they need to spend $1.65 per pound. What does it mean? Of course, by logic, we need more cost for this producer, and that means they're going to sell that coffee that we can just put on the table, and people come to cup and they say, I like this and I don't like this. It's a race for them. So what does it mean they're going to spend all the money in all the coffees? Well, 20% of the coffee that costs 1.10, they're going to score less than 80 points. 40% of the producer that costs 1.65 going to score less than 45 points. Well, I was talking about it, Maurice, to fail with higher cost and only a potential higher premium. For part of the crop, they can sell it for that quality. So at the end, it's a huge risk for the producer to put a lot of money, because at the end they can sell to the local market for a really cheap price. So the reality for the producer is this. We have 20 million coffee farmers to produce. We cannot have 20 million coffee farmers to produce 85 coffees. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. They don't have the right location, the right soil, the right altitude, the right variety, right? They don't have money, or they don't have the access to the financial things. They don't have the access to the market. And, well, I can give you a lot of reasons why the producer, all that 25 million coffee farmers can produce 85 coffee. So, during a Specialty Coffee Association in 2000, well, now in this April in Atlanta, Mark Lombe was talking about the impact of climate change in coffee. So Fatima Ismail, who is a president of Sopexca, as a big cooperative in Nicaragua, she says to him, stop it. What you put on the map now is happening. People is just leaving the coffee into cocoa, and they are going to keep doing that. So if that cocoa don't give to you a clear vision, we have Robusta coffee numbers, and just it's increased every year. And we have Nicaragua that is increasing by little every year, and we have Costa Rica. They are trying to keep in the same number, but we have a new news about this. Well, they are just increases. They are looking to increase the plantation of Robusta coffee for supply the demand of coffee. So we have like resume. Number one, the mean 50% coffee growing region gone by 2050. Two, demand 150% more coffee production by 2050. Environment, 60% of suitable land for coffee is now covered in forests. Four, the producer are moving out of Arabica because of growing pressure. We take a look to this short video then.
Around 10,000 years ago, the genetic parents of coffee met, and in a single event, Coffea arabica was born. We don't know who first learned to pick it, and roast it, and brew it, and enjoy it, but it was certainly a person who shared it with their family and their community. We also don't know who brought coffee across the Red Sea to Yemen, but there it flourished and was introduced to the world. Coffee went from there to India and to Indonesia, where it became the international sensation we now know it to be. And every time this happened, it was a person with a dream and an idea and a plan to bring coffee somewhere else in the world. Meanwhile, coffee drinkers flourished too. The coffee ceremonies of Ethiopia led to the coffee houses of Arabia, and before long, there were coffee shops and coffee lovers in Europe and Asia and Australia and the Americas. And every time a shop opened, it was a person with a dream and an idea and a plan who opened it. And every time a person made coffee for another person, it was an act of kindness and of deliciousness and of human connection. Today, over 20 million families make their livelihoods from coffee agriculture. From there, every bean of coffee must pass through at least 18 pairs of hands before the coffee makes it into a cup. Those 18 people live in different countries, speak different languages, trade in different currencies, and have names and colleagues and families. Coffee is an amazing feat of international collaboration, involving a huge, diverse community of people. We are that community. We are the people who work together to make great coffee happen. And like a family, we share our successes and our struggles, and we bear responsibility to each other. But we've achieved something miraculous together already, the miracle of great coffee, and we can achieve even more if we work together. And that's who we are, the Specialty Coffee Community, working together.
So, let's work together on this, shall we? Well, my favorite bean, Maracaturra, and I love that bean. Can be easily 88 points, and why not? If I have the opportunity to drink every morning, I will. But it's not all the producers, they have the opportunity. So, a lot of producers are in the situation to produce that quality. But a lot of specialty coffee people look down at this coffee. As a result, it's looked down to the producer. So, specialty coffee is not a savior if we can focus on pushing quality to great heights, which are only possible for a limited amount of producers. But it's also not a bubble if people, they open their eyes and their horizon to reality that you saw here already. So, what is next? Let's talk about everybody here like a person. I was listening to Brian and Jerome and now to Raquel talk about you are first in the line and you have the huge responsibility to talk about coffee. People trust you. So what can you do in your work? What can you do for change the reality? So do you know where you buy your coffee? Do you know where the money is gone?
Claudia, can we have like an...
This is the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So when working in the bar, how do you answer when people come to you? What does that mean, commercial coffee? I can only hope that you remember the reality of the lot of producers that represent the majority when people comes to you with the kind of question. So I am going to give you a few seconds for read the next quotes for great thinkers and great people in the coffee world. Well, So we have some Nicaraguan coffee, and let's go and copy, and then we will see what bad there are.